Menopause is a natural phase of life, but it can often bring a variety of emotional and physical challenges. While marking a new phase for many women, it often leads to uncomfortable symptoms. Night sweats, weight gain, mood swings, fatigue, to only name a few. Fortunately, advancement in healthcare offers solutions that can bring balance and alleviate some of these symptoms.
Welcome to EmpowerTV, where we leave a legacy of hope through conversations that uplift, educate, and inspire. Listen to incredible stories of people who overcame challenges and barriers. Celebrate victories, learn from setbacks, and push forward together. Want to be empowered? Let's go.
Joining us in studio today to discuss some of the solutions is owner of PerLife Medical, Crystal Dykes. Crystal, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Crystal, before you started PerLife Medical, you actually served in the military 10 years, right?
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Talking about menopause. So you wrote an amazing article, actually just last week I read your article and I loved it, and that's why I thought, let me get you onto the show. We've got to talk about
Yes.
this.
Thank you.
So menopause, explain to us a little bit, like what is that? Like what's the symptoms? What do women start to look out for? Like where do you start?
So I think a lot of us, especially going into when we start perimenopause and then going into menopause, right? Menopause is that one day where everything starts changing forever. As silly as that sounds, right? We've heard a lot of our patients say that and they're like, once I hit menopause, it was downhill.
I know, right? Everyone says that downhill from there.
Yes, and I really hate hearing that.
Yeah.
And it's sad to hear.
Yeah.
But it's really just because not only the symptoms, but we're talking fatigue, we're talking energy levels, we're talking hot flashes, we are talking low libido, brain fog, you name it. Yeah. Pretty much it comes from hormonal imbalance.
Okay. Well, brain fog, you're mentioning that. And before I carry on, I just want to let our viewers know we're sitting in the middle of a hurricane in Florida, right? We're doing this interview.
Yes,
about
in the middle.
Menopause, which is like a hurricane in your life.
It's a hurricane in our lives, yes. Absolutely. Because you never know what to expect.
Exactly, right? You don't know. Is it coming for you? Is it going to hit you full speed? Or is it just going to be the side symptoms?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of us, I want to say even from our grandparents, I used to hear it from my grandma all the time, don't get old. How many times have you heard that, right?
How do you do that?
Exactly. And so for me, I normally tell our patients, not only have we had a lot of weight loss patients, but our foundation are hormones, right? We have a lot of patients that have thyroid issues. A lot of that comes from our hormones.
Sure.
That balance between testosterone and estrogen. But again, with the whole menopause side, most of our menopause patients do have thyroid issues. Once we optimize that testosterone and estrogen and we get that good balance, that thyroid issue disappears.
Sure.
Their symptoms disappear. And they go to sleep now. They don't have to take any sort of medication. And then they also wake up refreshed. They have mental clarity. They have energy. They feel like themselves. They have high libido. So when it comes to menopause, it is not the end all be all. There is hope out there. You can absolutely go back to feeling like yourself.
Oh, I love that. That is such good news, because it kind of creeps up on you, right? Like, I wouldn't have even thought about doing this interview if I didn't, I've been experiencing similar symptoms, and it's kind of over a time, and we went through horrendous, challenging things in our lives. So I just thought, it's stress related. Like, I'm not sleeping well because it's probably just stress related. I'm picking up weight because maybe I'm just stress, because that, causes a lot of that. But I'm also not training like I usually do, or eating too much. You kind of think, okay, yeah, maybe I'll try dieting a little bit, and then you try, but like nothing is moving.
Yes.
The scale is not dropping.
Yes.
It keeps picking up. And mood swings, like out of the order. Women, I need to be honest, women, we're women. So there is this certain time of month that we are totally unreasonable, illogical, like what's the word? It's just
unreasonable, illogical. We are 100,000% correct all the time. Yes.
So with menopause, like that is just all of a sudden increased, right? And you just can't help yourself. It's bizarre. Wow. So I didn't even think about this until I started with the night sweats, like waking up at night so hot that I'm wide awake, and I'm so hot. And I thought it was Florida. Like maybe I'm just in Florida.
Yes.
I need to climatize. But then I spoke to you, and I'm like, oh no, like there's too many of these things that are now.
There's too many that pretty much built up over time.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's not only menopause.
Yeah.
I know we go to our primary care physicians and they say, hey, at 40, we'll check your hormone levels. Just like Botox is preventative for wrinkles, getting your hormones checked, even in your mid to late 20s,
Sure.
super important.
That's good advice.
So when you go into menopause, right? Honestly, if you're checking it and you're keeping on top of it, you're not going to have this shock.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you're still going to like your husband. Like, you know what I mean? And I say that because
but that is good news. I mean, this is important stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially when someone is emotionally very affected through the hormone imbalance, right? I mean, that can ruin a plethora of relationships, a marriage, with your kids, with friends, with, this is.
And it's not just little things either. Sometimes it'll hit, people a lot quicker, but sometimes those little things start to build up.
Yeah.
And so trying to optimize those hormones, it's kind of a fun little game.
Yeah.
But it is really a relationship saver as well. I can't tell you how many patients they've told us that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my goodness, we've pelleted, her and her husband.
Yeah.
She hasn't had hormones for, 27 years.
Wow.
And it's that patience, that love, that affection that you had because of your hormone optimization at the age you met your person.
Sure.
And so it's just something like that, right? You don't have those mood swings like you mentioned. You don't have that discomfort of anxiety. You don't have that brain fog where he's like, well, I told you this was going to happen. No, you didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or like that moment when you're on your way somewhere and you're like, where was I going?
Yep.
Where did I put my keys? I'm constantly looking for my phone. I'm so glad I have an Apple Watch, because I'm constantly ping, ping, ping.
Ping it. Yes. Yes.
I don't know where I put that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just, I've always been a little bit, airy-fairy. So it's just normal for me, to forget my kids at school, look for my phone, not know what day of the week is it again. Oh, yes. It takes me a while. But I mean, lately, like it's serious stuff. Like I really, it's not normal anymore.
No, it's hard. It's hard. And then we've had a lot of those things, but again, going through menopause, it's that one day where it's almost taboo. No one wants to talk about it. They feel some sort of way, especially they're like, oh my gosh, like it's almost, at least for women, right? We feel like that's kind of our one day of indication saying, hey, you're getting old.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
And no one really talks about it. Like,
no.
It's not something that is particularly talked about in conversations. Like I can't remember that my mom and I ever had a conversation about menopause, right? Because probably by the time she went through it, like I was almost out of the house. And there's just not a lot of conversations where we actually sit together as women and just say, let's talk about menopause, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then that's the best part, because even something as simple as, we can talk about symptoms and things like that, but that's where we become even more susceptible to something like osteoporosis.
Sure.
And a perfect example, right? Everything that we've used in our clinic, I've used, my family has used, because I know it's good, I know it works, I understand it. And something as simple as my mother used to be 5'7", 5'8". She got hit with osteoporosis.
Sure.
As soon as she hit menopause. She's 5'4" now.
Wow.
So it's those little things from bone density, not even talking about symptom management. Now we're talking about bone density, thyroid issues, whether you're hyper or hypo. And then with your hypo, here comes that unexplained weight gain. And so when it comes down to that one very dreadful day in a woman's life, you really have to decide what you're going to do.
Yeah, and I think talking about it is important as well. Like just the fact that you wrote this article, that we're talking about it today, is to make people aware of the fact that your symptoms could be related to a hormone imbalance and how important. I never knew that you could start checking this at like 29 or, you know, at least 35 or like, you know, those kind of, like you say, it's preventative. Like I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
all news for me. I thought maybe 50, 55 people are talking about menopause. Like, you know,
And I think that's the interesting part, right? Because we deal with everyday healthcare and things like that. And it's more reactive as opposed to preventative. Because why spend money on something where, you know,
well, that's the way we're wired.
I'll deal with it
like,
when it comes.
I'll fix it when it's a problem.
Right.
Wow.
But in this case, I think for better quality of overall life, because not only does it help, and it can actually end up reversing osteoporosis as well.
Wow.
So not only are we talking preventative, we're talking, thank God, reparative, right? But there's so many more, not only for women, but for males as well. When it comes to having that good hormonal balance, you're fighting against so many other diseases and chronic illnesses. We're talking from heart to liver to thyroid. I mean, you name it. We are preventing all of those illnesses that come with low testosterone, lack of estrogen. Those things are super important. So if we want to be overall healthy and worry about the health and wellness, optimizing that foundation. I will always tell everyone that is your foundation. You do everything else after that. That foundation is a must. For overall health and wellness.
Sure. And for men as well. I mean, you just mentioned now males. I mean, we're predominantly talking about menopause and females, but it's just as important for males to have their hormones checked.
Absolutely.
And balanced.
Absolutely.
So once you check it, so coming into the clinic, you're going to check it, you're going to have blood work done, you're going to have all kinds of tests to check the hormones, right?
Correct.
And then you guys offer a certain amount of solutions. One being, I know, it's so you're going to explain this to me better, because I'm going to explain it as I understand it, but it's like a little hormone pellet. It's inserted just under the skin. Is that
correct?
All right. Is it painful?
Nope. Okay. So what our nurse practitioner does, and she is absolutely phenomenal, and the greatest part about her, she's been doing hormones for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And she's worked with different companies, but she absolutely loves the company that we get our compounded pellets from. And so really what she'll do for the males, she'll go ahead and put them in that little love handle, right? Once males reach a certain age, they usually end up getting this tired no matter how much they work out. And I will actually say that from experience because I saw my husband go through it. And then from there, most men will get anywhere from 3 to 5 tracks. They'll go ahead and put the pellets in. She numbs you with lidocaine beforehand. You feel absolutely nothing.
And then how long does it last?
So for males, it'll last, depending on activity level and stress, which are the 2 main factors, anywhere from 5.5 to 6 months.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yes, because they do get a lot more testosterone pellets as well. And then again, symptom management. For females, activity level and stress levels, anywhere from 3 to 4 months, we will see them.
The woman. Always, you know.
Always. They always have to be more. Always more, always more. But again, it's just because we require less testosterone, and we will never overdose you. We've heard a lot of those horror stories.
Yeah, I was going to now get to that, you know. So we hear a lot of horror stories, and we hear a lot of people saying, no, hormones is bad, it causes cancer, blah, 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 like all kinds of stuff, right? So what would you guys say in return to those arguments on the side?
So I have to say it came from the Women's Health Initiative. They had done this a couple years back, but they really did it for propaganda. And I say that because all of their studies were based off of synthetic hormone replacement.
Okay. And that's a huge difference to what you guys are
Huge
doing.
difference. Huge difference. So when we put it in comparison, we're talking synthetic hormone, TRT, which is an injectable. And I know plenty about that because my husband started off on TRT. So he was injecting himself every 5 days. When we're talking about bioidentical, it's mimicking what your body already makes. So there are no negative side effects.
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? People read something somewhere and then they run with it and just generalizing it, but not understanding that that's actually two completely separate things. Because synthetic hormones and natural hormones, I mean, that's it.
And that was a huge thing too, because they've even done studies, right? The company that we go through, wonderful company, and they actually did a study where they had a woman who had breast cancer. She had a lump the size of probably a baseball in her left breast. They surrounded it with their bioidentical hormone replacement therapy pellets, testosterone pellets specifically, because testosterone really helps, again, against those illnesses. And within 16 weeks, it was probably the size of this. So the bioidentical is just so far superior to anything synthetic. And I try and educate our patients on that. You have a bunch, just a laundry list of negative side effects with synthetic. There is no benefit.
It's not even comparable.
At all.
Like one is...
At all. And that's what they did their tests based off of. And then come to find out there's only a certain number of years that you have to wait before they can retract that false information.
So that's just sitting there and people are just believing that.
Correct.
Because I've spoken to, since, I decided to have this interview, I've been speaking to a lot of people, and just to kind of get the idea, like, where are people at, about hormone therapy? And that's the thing, is a lot of people have read false information, and now they're on this path, like, no, don't take any hormones, only do, something that's completely natural and whatnot, which is fine. If you can do natural things, that's great. However, if these things are damaging your relationships, it's damaging you as a person because you're not sleeping properly. You keep on picking up weight. You can't lose it. So you're feeling worse and worse about yourself, which affects your relationships, which affects everything you do. All of these things, one has to kind of sit back and think about, like, all right, what would I like to change in my life? Is this where I want to be going in terms of emotionally, what this is doing to me, having a hormone imbalance, or, like...
Do I want to save my relationship? Do I want to have mental stability?
Yeah.
Right? As silly as that sounds, and absolutely. Yeah. You're 100% on track with that. Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because even with menopause, right? We've had patients come in. They are so hesitant to do any sort of hormone replacement. They go straight for the semaglutide shot, the weight loss shot.
The weight loss shot.
The biggest indicator of weight gain because of not only menopause, but because of hormonal imbalance, is that tire that we're getting in our abdomen. Biggest number one indicator. If you're doing your diet, you're doing your exercise, that's what you're telling me. And you still have this, there's an issue.
Yeah.
There's
Chances
an underlying
are the
issue.
Hormones are imbalanced.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And we've even had patients, we've told them point blank, hey, hormones, your age, this is what else is going on in your medical history.
People want the quick fix though.
Correct. And so, but we've actually had some eye-opening moments where they have tried semaglutide for 2 months. No weight loss.
Sure.
They've had their hormones replaced. Within the first 2 weeks, they've lost 5 pounds.
Wow.
Without changing anything. And so just having that conversation and really truly understanding, doing the research, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And more people out there need to understand, if you don't do anything else, right? Even aesthetics or anything for vanity overall, get your hormones replaced.
Get your hormones checked.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And at a younger age, I never knew that. Like, that is so crucial. Like you said, I mean, you can avoid osteoporosis and all kinds of illnesses.
Yep.
That is incredible. So,
It is. And I will tell you, like, I'm 29 now. I had my hormones replaced at 28.
wow. And so it was completely imbalanced?
Completely.
At 28.
And my labs were showing that I had, my thyroid was off the charts. So my nurse practitioner, she, you know, based off of her protocols, she ended up ordering me some natural thyroid medication, stay more on the holistic side. But then from there, I was like, I'm not going to take this. And I told her, and she said, okay, let's monitor you. I said, okay. I got my hormones replaced, my follow-up blood work. I was perfectly fine.
Wow.
So everyone's saying that they have Hashimoto's. They're saying they have this. They're saying they have this when it comes to thyroid. Your foundation is your hormones, especially if you know you have gone through menopause.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have any symptoms? Like 28 years old?
I did.
Oh.
I did. I had the brain fog. My anxiety was through the roof. I have never had anxiety. I never was raised that anxiety was a thing.
Yeah.
And it was not good. The mood swings as well. Anything I would get in a fit of rage or anger, or I would just completely shut down, break down, and cry. So when I tell you it's night and day difference, so yes, with menopause, it is, but by the time most of the patients that we have dealt with, they've been in menopause for decades.
And they don't even know it.
They have no clue. They're putting on patches and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Or creams and still having symptoms. So why are they putting on these creams? I don't know. But personally, not even just from a menopause state, but when you start feeling those symptoms, you start not feeling like yourself. Those mood swings, or you're not getting along with your spouse, it's probably not just you guys are having a disagreement. But every 3 months, because I am, you know, more active than most of our patients, I let it go an extra week from 3 months. The day before my nurse practitioner ended up pelleting me, I had a complete meltdown in our inventory room for absolutely no reason.
Sure.
No reason.
And so did you go and check your hormones again after that?
I knew I needed to be pelleted because I hit those 3 months.
You can feel it.
Yes. That brain fog.
I never
all the
knew.
symptoms.
Yeah.
All the way you started, it doesn't get worse. You just feel them again. And it may feel worse.
Because it's imbalanced.
Correct.
So your hormones are imbalanced.
You have unexplained issues. Unexplained things. Oh, I forgot I had to do that. Oh, you're crying for no reason. Or you're mad for no reason. It's the symptoms start coming back.
But sometimes it's hard to see it in yourself, right? Like when you're getting, like you say, sad for no reason, or, you know, just enraged or completely, these really unnatural emotional fits. How do you see that in yourself? Because everybody else around you can see, like, listen, she's totally irrational, like, you know. But for you as a person, it might feel like I'm justified the way I'm feeling, right?
Yes.
Like it's probably my husband, or it's probably my you know, the circumstances at work, or it's probably the stress that I'm going through, or whatever the case is. So we kind of justify, because that's what I did for a long time. I justified how I felt just because I was going through a lot of stress. So I just thought, oh, it's just the stress, right? Never thinking that it could be a hormone imbalance, because I feel like I'm too young for that, right?
But I also think when, and again, everyone's different, but I think even when we're alone, we know something is wrong. We do not feel like ourselves 100%. Because even in those moments, I feel like we do question, like, am I justified? Well, no, he did this. So yes, I'm justified with my reaction. You know what I mean? Or no, they acted this way, or they did this. That's my justification. I think there's always little hints. There's always that, if you have to re-question yourself as to how that reaction was, or, you know, I normally remember things, or, you know, I'm not feeling right.
That's a good course to go and check your hormones to make sure.
Yes, because you will know.
Because otherwise it's a struggle. Like
Correct.
You're struggling against yourself.
You're struggling through life.
Yeah, and it's not necessary.
No, it's the basic things of life. Being on time somewhere. Remembering small dates. If you could remember this before and you're starting to realize, oh man, I forgot my kid had this going on. Or, oh, I forgot it was their birthday. Or if that's not normal for you, if there's ever something out of the ordinary when it comes to brain fog, when it comes to reactions, emotions, go get your hormones checked.
Good advice.
And they may not even be off the charts where it is, oh my goodness, you are practically hormoneless. You know what I mean? But even at a lower level, who you are as a person changes.
Yeah.
Because that balance between testosterone and estrogen is so crucial. So incredibly crucial. We have a very, very good friend. Absolutely adore him. He has been in the health and fitness and wellness industry for years. And he has used himself essentially as a guinea pig to see that testosterone balance versus estrogen. And when you don't have that right estrogen, you don't have emotions.
Sure.
When you don't have that testosterone, you don't have that focus. You don't have that guard against illnesses. And it's just, it's fascinating. Science is very fascinating. Biology.
So a lot of men can kind of become emotionless.
Correct.
In their relationships, in their marriages. And then the woman would, I mean, imagine how that is affecting a relationship or a marriage, right?
Yes. And
meanwhile, this poor guy really just needs his hormones checked, because once that is balanced, then it just kind of helps a lot of other things.
It falls into place.
Otherwise, you're constantly struggling against yourself.
Yes.
Against what's going on in your body. Why is our hormones so imbalanced these days? Like, why was it like that like 30 years ago or 50 years ago? Is it just more now, or has it always been something that's just never really been talked about and there was never really a solution for it?
I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. I know, you know, back then, a lot of conversations and topics were very taboo. You don't talk about it.
Yeah, it wasn't talked about.
Yeah. But I also think it has a lot to do with our food. Everything that we're consuming, whether from drinks to snacks, right? To food, to gummies, to pretty much everything. Even something as simple as melatonin. If you give young boys melatonin, it will mess with their hormones. And so I think it's a combination of all the processing that's consistently being done, more so nowadays than it was back then. Even our meats, our vegetables, everything.
Yeah. And stress, right? Does stress also cause your hormones?
Stress also causes that.
And life is just super stressful a lot of the times nowadays.
Yes. So between everything encompassing, you're going to see that in hormonal balance.
So check your hormones.
Correct. And I think that should be a normal panel. Why primary care physicians continue to say, oh, wait till you're 40. Again, it's in that mindset of reactive. Here's a pill, take it, it's going to help. Always be preventative.
Yeah.
Just like we are, again, with the vanity side of aesthetics. Botox, fillers, they're all preventative.
Yeah.
Fillers are more so reactive, but Botox, great for prevention.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the earlier you start with certain treatments and looking after yourself and taking care of yourself, the less you have to do later on, because then the damage is definitely not as apparent.
Correct. And then even medications that you'll be put on, well, I have high blood pressure, or I have thyroid issues, or I have depression. Those are huge. Anxiety medications. They're non-existent if you continue to track your hormones.
Sure.
So, and I'm not saying there's no sort of, you know, depression where you do need medication.
There's a place for that, of
There
course.
is a specific place for that. A lot of people are being masked with those medications when it's a simple foundational issue of hormone imbalance.
Sure. Powerful information.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're literally out of time. Like, I can listen to you all day because you're so passionate about what you're doing, and I can see the difference that you're experiencing through this treatment. And of course, you're seeing all your clients experience this feeling alive again, right?
Yes, it's almost
having to
euphoric.
struggle against your own self all the time.
Yes.
Man, that's really freeing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's liberating.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having us. I'm so glad we got to talk about this.
Thank you.
That beautiful foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, that is it from me, Lorna Grayling. If you would like to go and have your hormones checked at Pearl Life Medical, they are in Florida, Satellite Beach. Otherwise, take a look on the maps and see if there's any clinics near you. But if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, I will list a few in the description. Have your hormones checked. It could be something that you could prevent. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our episodes to allow us to make more episodes. A lot of people on our show is watching. 98% are watching and not subscribing. So please subscribe. And until next week, goodbye.